Back on CBS Sports HQ, the Texas Longhorns getting ready to host Clemson in the CFP. Right now, the #1 ranked incoming recruiting class for next season. They've got things rolling in the playoff last year, the 4-team playoff, and now hosting a playoff game. And they have two former #1 prospects at the quarterback position. It's a great problem to have if you're Steve Sarkisian. What do? You got Quinn Ewers. You got Arch Manning. Both have shown that they can really help your team. A lot of people think that they have the answer, but Sark doesn't want to hear it via the Rich Eisen show.
I try not to consume myself with what y'all think. We focus on the task at hand, and that's doing what's in the best interest of the team to win ball games. If I kind of led the emotional roller coaster of what other people think, I'd be an emotional nightmare, because in one aspect I can read one article that says Quinn's the greatest thing since whomever, and then next article is why don't you play Arch and this and that, and you can go back and forth all the way around and listen to talk radio and watch every show and whomever else, or you can focus on the people in your building, keep your head down, make sure that you're providing the right type of motivation and leadership for them so that they can follow your lead. And I think our guys have done a great job of that.
All right, so what do the HQ folks have to say about it? We have Tom Fornelli and Shehan Jeyarajah joining us here to break down this matchup between Texas and Clemson. And let's start at the quarterback position, Shehan. What do you think that split between Ewers and Arch Manning should look like in this game?
Well, I do think we should see a little bit of Arch. I mean, what he brings to the table is he is a dual-threat quarterback. He obviously, in the Texas A&M game, came in, scored a touchdown for them. But this is Quinn Ewers' team, and we can be excited about what Arch Manning is going to become and what talent that he has. But the reality is you have a third-year starting quarterback who's been there, done that, was one throw away from winning a college football playoff game last year, and is also, in so many ways, the emotional leader of the team. I understand why people want to see Arch Manning, but this is Quinn Ewers' team, and I think that he should get to see it through.
Yeah, I think when you look at the situation, like Shehan's right, Quinn is the starter. He is the guy going forward, but they do need to bring Arch in because the biggest problem that Texas has had offensively since Quinn came back from his injury is they can't finish drives in the red zone. And a big part of that is because Quinn is not at 100%. He had an oblique injury early in the year, which he's still dealing with. It's an injury that only heals when you're not, playing with rest and time. And he hasn't had nearly enough rest and time. And that affects you when the field gets shorter and you have to throw the ball into those tight windows and put a little extra juice on it. He doesn't have that available right now. So you've seen once Texas gets in that scoring zone, it's a whole lot of screen passes and it's a whole lot of fades to the back corner of the end zone, hoping his guy can make a play. And they just haven't done it frequently enough. So I think in that one area of the field, because Quinn's also added an ankle injury in the last month that he's had trouble dealing with, which has really limited his mobility, you haven't impacted your run game, which has been bad all season long due to injuries that you suffered before the year even began. That's where Arch Manning comes in handy. That's where we saw Arch Manning in that Texas A&M game, where Texas used him in the red zone to get a touchdown, to just make it 11-11. Make the defense have to respect your quarterback as a rusher, to help your running backs, to help your offensive line, because they don't have to with Ewers. So while I can understand why Sark maybe doesn't want to listen to what everybody thinks, I guarantee you, he should probably listen to anybody who's telling him to use Arch Manning in the red zone more as a mobile running threat.
As it pertains to Ewers, take a look at some of the numbers that our research team put together, because usually right-handed quarterbacks are better rolling to their right. That's the easier throw, as opposed to maybe throwing across your body going the other way. But when you look at when he rolls out to the left, he hasn't thrown an interception this season, to 11 touchdowns. And Shehan, on the other side, he has more interceptions than touchdown passes when he rolls to the right. What do you make of those numbers?
Well, I think that that's just an indicator, right? That he's still not healthy. Obviously, he went out with that oblique injury, with that abdominal injury. And when you are a right-handed passer, right, you're having to twist more to go to your right. You're having to move your body a certain direction. When you're going to your left, you're going all the way across your body. You're mostly dealing with the left side of your body. To me, it's as simple as that. This is not a player who's fully healthy. I was talking to a recruiting analyst who dealt with him a lot in high school, and he actually had a similar oblique injury injury in his final season, his junior season at South Lake Carroll, and it was something that really did inhibit him when he went into the state championship game in 2021. I think that this is something that seems to be recurring for him. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to see a fully healthy Quinn Ewers during any season that he's been a starting quarterback at Texas. He's missed games every single year. And look, that's something that you do have to adjust for. And that's something that is a legitimate concern heading into this matchup. But I do think that if you are Texas, again, like we kind of talked about, that's why I think in those high leverage situations, you do need to figure out what are ways that you can ease the impact on Quinn Ewers instead of putting everything on his shoulders.
Then on the other side, it's all on Cade Klubnik. And Tom, he's returning home, Austin native, going to be playing for the university there, the hometown university, against the Texas Longhorns in that stadium for the Clemson Tigers. Dabo Swinney has said that, you know, they were the first unbeaten CFP champion, and now he wants to be the first 3-loss CFP champion. How much is this going to come down to Klubnik?
Oh, I think it all comes down to Klubnik. I think that has typically been the entire formula for Clemson's offense all season long. The run game has not been what they had hoped it would be at the running back position. They have not effectively enough replaced Will Shipley. Bo Maffa is a good running back, but we haven't seen the kind of explosive runs that he was displaying last year. Any explosive run we're seeing in this Clemson offense this season has typically been Cade Klubnik. The problem is the opponent has really largely dictated how effective that Cade Klubnik and the rest of the Tigers have been, because if you look at this team, if you look just points wise, they have played 5 games this season in which they've averaged 3 points or more per possession. They've also played 5 games where they've averaged fewer than 2 points per possession, and 3 of those games clearly were the games they lost against Georgia, Louisville, and South Carolina. What do those 3 teams have in common? They're the best defensive lines Clemson has seen all year, and now here comes the Texas Longhorns, who have an excellent defense, one of the best defenses in the country. They are very strong up front. So will we see this offensive line struggle again like we saw them struggle in those games? And can Cade overcome that and use his legs to keep drives alive? Because if we go back to that season opener against Georgia, which feels like years ago at this point, they were hopeless. They had absolutely no answers. We saw a bit more against Louisville, and we saw against South Carolina, they were able to move the ball. They just didn't finish by putting points on the board. So we've seen progress in that department, but if they're going to go into Austin and beat the Longhorns and move out of the second round, they need Cade to get the job done. He's going to have to put the team on his shoulders and get to the end zone. It
is the biggest spread of the first round. They're double-digit dogs, 11.5-point underdogs, and a double-digit dog has never won a CFP game. 0-8 straight up in CFP history. Shehan, who advances, who covers? What do you like in this one?
Well, I'll tell you what, this isn't the first time that Quinn Ewers and Cade Klubnik have played against each other with a lot on the line. I was actually at the building whenever they played in the state championship game back in 2021. Cade Klubnik took that one. He had a huge game. But this time, give me Quinn Ewers. He's got the better team this time around. I think that Texas probably needs to pull away late. This probably isn't going to be an easy game, but I think it comes down to one component, and that's Clemson's rushing defense. When Texas's rushing game has struggled, that's when you've seen their offense come to a halt. Clemson this year has probably the worst rushing defense that they've had. It's kind of since they've reached the national stage over a decade ago. Unfortunately, I think that means that Texas is going to be able to take advantage. I think that they win, and I think they cover.
All right. Looking forward to the matchup between shades of orange in Texas. It's burnt orange, it's Clemson Tiger orange, and it's on Saturday afternoon at 4 Eastern time.